Hey there, I'm Allie Ernest. I'm a science fiction and fantasy author. Welcome back to my channel where I'm documenting my author journey and sharing any tips and tricks and things I've learned along the way that might help you. So I decided to start this new series and I'm really excited about it because it's how to write a science fiction or fantasy novel. Or you can do a little bit of both like I have been because I'm writing a science fantasy. Either way, speculative fiction maybe. It can really apply to any sort of novel, but I'm going to curtail this to specifically science fiction and fantasy. So, it's my favorite genre. I don't know if you can, how much you can see and whatever, but if you look over here, most of that is science fiction and fantasy. I would say probably if you were to do a percentage, 99% is science fiction and fantasy in some capacity. I do have a couple contemporary over there, but it's mainly just Sarah Dessen. And if you historical fiction, that's it. Everything else is science fiction, fantasy. Yeah, not ashamed at all because it's my favorite, which is why I write it, because I'm more familiar with these genres and it's what I like to read. That's how I got into writing, is I wanted to write something that I would like to read. Anyway, so you're here because you want to know how to write a novel and how to put it together, and so I'm going to take you step by step of how I personally, a type B person, a planter who wants to be a plotter, but I'm never going to be a plotter, let's be serious, because I'm not organized enough to do that. I am very type B. Yeah, anyway, how I do that. I do have to put in some legwork, so I don't just open up my computer or open up a blank notebook and go to town. I actually do plan out a good bit of what I'm going to write. I just don't know what every single beat is going to be in the story. I kind of do it as I go. I kind of do the headlight outlining phase, and we'll talk about that when we actually get to the drafting portion of this series. So, well, if you want to write a novel, you have to have some sort of idea. That is kind of the most obvious thing I could have possibly said. But some people have no idea how to find ideas, or maybe that's you. Maybe that's why you're watching this video. And I'm glad you are. I'm glad you're here with me today. Welcome. Anyway, so I come up with ideas and they just come to me. I know that's not really helpful, but I do have a couple different things devoted to story ideas that help me get started on things if I'm having some trouble, if I don't have one just pop into my head. And I'm going to go through a couple of them with you today. I will also redirect you to my website at www.allieernest.com, because if you sign up for my newsletter, you get access to some of these little idea farms I have that, I think it might be helpful to you. You get access to my Pinterest page, and that's kind of what I'm pointing to, is my Pinterest page. You get access to those boards. You get access to my character ideas board, as well as my story ideas board and setting ideas board. And those 3 Pinterest boards are what I go to most of the time if I'm stuck on something. I pin just about anything that I might think has a story or looks like a really cool character or a really cool setting. Most of them are fantasy and science fiction oriented. So yeah, so if you sign up for a newsletter, you definitely get access to that, so you can look at my stuff and get some ideas from that if you don't know how to do that on your own. Pinterest is a fantastic, fantastic resource. So a lot of times what I'll do if I'm trying to figure out a character story or a setting idea or something, I will go to those boards and find a character I like or a setting I like and so on and so forth, and kind of go from there. I also find a lot of inspiration in music I listen to. I like epic music. I listen to that a lot when I write. I think those really go well with science fiction and fantasy in particular because they're all epic. Thomas Bergerson is one of my favorite composers. Look him up. He's fantastic. I'll link him below because I love his music. Anything he composes, just about, I will listen to. I also listen to just random stuff. I got a fantasy idea from a Bastille song, which isn't a fantasy related thing, but it did give me an idea for a fantasy story. So you can find inspiration and like that kind of stuff, music, Pinterest, other media. Sometimes I like to read books and I don't like the ending, and I'm like, I want to fix this book, and I get an idea based off that, how I would have written the book. It ends up not being the book at all or a reread of the book. It's just a jumping off point for my idea. Movies also inspire me. I really would love to write a World War II story that I have in my head. I've had in my head for a really long time, that I got from watching The Book Thief, which is a fantastic movie. I sobbed in the movie. Just, I can't even think about it without tearing up a little bit. But that leads me into the last thing, is history is also really important. Alternate history is fascinating to me, those type of stories where you have, you know, a thing that's happened in history, but you want to tweak it and change it and come up with a more of a historical fantasy, alternate history type deal. That stuff is really fascinating. Or you can be a historical fiction writer and want to write the perspective of somebody in history. Or I really like historical fiction a lot, and so I like how they take it and they make it into a story that it's, you know, it's fiction still, so it might not actually happen, but it's relatively close to, you know, the true story. So I really like Cleopatra's Moon. I can't remember who it's by. I'll have to look it up, and I'll put it down below. Sorry. Cleopatra's Moon is awesome. It's about one of Cleopatra's daughters and what she went through after Cleopatra and Mark Antony were dead. And so it is really, really, really good. Also, I love the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. I love the book and the movie so much. Yes. So there are different things, different ideas you can grab from anywhere, and those would be great jumping off points. So Pinterest, music, other media like movies, anime, video games. I would love to write a Zelda kind of esque novel. Oh my word. I love Zelda. Anyway, also, like I said, history itself is just fascinating. Real life is fascinating, and you can get an idea from there. I have a friend who's researching different true crime stuff for her. I think she called it a domestic thriller, I believe. Sorry if you're watching this, Becca. But she's kind of got ideas from there. So those where ideas come from. But if you have an idea, you need to let it ruminate a little bit. You need to think about it and understand that you might need to do a little bit of tweaking to it and kind of a little bit of thinking on that, because an idea is just an idea, for me at least. Maybe you think of something and it's a full-fledged novel already. It's not for me. It's more like a kernel. It's more like a snapshot I see of the story itself in my head, or a character, and then I have to kind of think about it for a while. So what I do then is I have the idea, and then I get a notebook. Usually it's a blank notebook. I like spiral notebooks, particularly for this early stage. And I just brain dump all over the page. Just whatever comes to mind comes out on the page. It doesn't have to make sense. It's just the way I organize my thoughts. So that's what I do for a while. I think about it for a while, and then I brain dump for a while. Sometimes that ends up leading into character development or world building stuff or plot points or anything like that. But the point is, I just word vomit all over a page for a while. And that's the first step to writing a novel, in my opinion, is you have to think about it. You have to find the idea, you have to think about it, and then you just got to just brainstorm it. Just brainstorm the junk out of that thing, because that's how you get your story from point A to point B. There are about, 26 points in this, but you'll get there eventually. Next time we'll talk about what my next step is. What if I do have a solid idea and I've kind of thought about it and I've brainstormed enough to understand where it goes? What do I do next? And that would be character development. So I will talk about that next time, as well as a little bit of world building. Anyway, I'm going to peace out, but until next time, you can visit my website, like I mentioned earlier, at www.allieernest.com, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Happy writing.